Good day, everybody. Today we will learn about a very important aspect of pipe stress analysis, that is pipe supports or pipe supporting. The main points that I will cover in this video lecture are introduction, means what is a pipe support, then what does a pipe support do, what are the requirements or functions of a pipe support, then codes and standards for pipe supporting, next types of pipe supports, optimizing pipe support terminologies, examples of pipe supports, and finally pipe support standard and special pipe supports. Now, what is a pipe support? Pipe supports are very important elements in piping stress analysis. Pipe stress analysis depends on proper supporting to a great extent. So, knowledge of pipe supports are required to handle pipe stress problems better. Much of the pipe stress problems are easily sorted out by proper supporting of the piping systems. A pipe support can be defined as a designed element that transfers the piping loads to the supporting structure. So, in between piping and supporting structure, there will be supports or pipe supports. Proper functioning of a pipe system depend largely on pipe supports. So these are the pipe supports which will help the piping system to work in a proper way. Accurate and judicious selection of pipe supports are therefore required for the success of any project. So for the successful operation of any project, proper, accurate and judicious selection of types of pipe supports are required. Pipe supports are sometimes called as restraints, but there is a slight difference between these two. What is this difference? The pipe supports carry the vertical loads, means the members or supports which are used to take care of the vertical load, mainly weight load. Those are called pipe support elements, whereas the pipe restraints are used to limit displacements, means thermal or occasional displacements are limited using piping restraints. But in this article, we will refer both supports and restraints as piping supports in general sense. Now, what does a pipe support do? Means what are the main functions of a pipe support? Why do we need pipe supports in a system? A pipe support performs various functions for proper working of the piping system. So what are those functions? Some of the major functions of pipe supports are: first is prevention of excessive pipe stress. So during stress analysis, our one of the function is to minimize or reduce the stresses within code allowable. So piping supports can help us in reducing these excessive piping stresses. Next is elimination of joint leakages. There will be many flanged joints in every piping systems. So pipe supports, if properly placed and proper type of pipe support is selected, that can reduce or eliminate the leakages through the piping joints. Next, absorbing damaging line vibrations. We are aware that most of the type piping systems are suffered from damaging vibrations or dynamic events. So supports can help in absorbing those damaging effects of the line vibrations. Next is countering the bad effects of earthquake, wind, water hammer, slug and other dynamic loadings. All these are occasional and dynamic loadings, means earthquake or seismic event, wind, high velocity winds, storms, water hammer effect, slug effect. This type of damaging effects can be effectively solved using proper piping supports. Next is reducing excessive support loads. So providing pipe supports in exact locations or optimized locations can reduce the excessive support loading. Then eliminating unintentional disengagement of piping from its supports. So by proper selection of hold down or spring hanger supports, this unintentional lift off or disengagement can be prevented. Then preventing excessive pipe sags. Excessive pipe sags are not allowed in piping systems. Usually for B31.3 piping, the allowable piping sag is 15 mm. For B31.1 piping, the maximum allowable piping sag is 2.5 mm, and for GRE piping, it is 12.5 mm. So we have to provide the supports in such a way that it does not exceed the sagging as given by the or as fixed by these codes or standards. Now limiting undesirable line movements to protect sensitive equipment against overloading. So piping supports can play an important role in limiting the unintentional displacements so that sensitive equipments are safeguarded from overloading. Next is redirecting pipe thermal movements to favorable direction. Normally piping expansion loops are provided and we want to transfer the maximum of the displacement within this loop. So we can easily redirect these thermal movements by providing or selecting proper pipe supports. So all these are the functions of pipe supports. Other functions are taking the hydraulic thrust in piping. In most of the piping systems can suffer from the thrust forces. So proper support selection can avoid those hydraulic thrust and they easily transfer those thrust to the structural members. Noise control by reducing or absorbing the vibration or acoustic measures, we can reduce the noise also. And supporting for maintenance and shutdown situation. During maintenance and shutdown situations, there could be requirement of additional supports. So proper supporting will help in proper shutdown and maintenance philosophies. Now codes and standards of pipe supports. There are various codes and standards that are usually referred to design or construct the pipe supports. Some of these codes and standards that are useful for pipe support designing or installing are MSS SP58. This establishes the material design and inspection criteria to be used in the manufacturing of standard pipe supports. Then MSS SP69. It provides recommendations for the selection and application of pipe supports. Then MSS SP89. It provides recommendations for the fabrication and installation of pipe supports. All these supports are from USA. Then BS 3974. This is a BS code, means from UK. This provides a specification of piping supports. There are three parts, 1, 2 and 3. Then VGB-R-510L. This is from Germany. This is standard support guidelines. Then RCC-M, specifications of pipe supports by France. Similarly, MITI 501. This is from technical regulations by Japan. So all these codes and standards provide some guidelines to design the pipe support standards or pipe support drawings effectively. Now types of pipe supports. So pipe supports or piping supports can be classified based on various parameters. For example, based on support hardware rigidity. So depending on the pipe support hardware rigidity, supports are classified as rigid supports, resilient support or elastic support, and adjustable support. Now depending on the attachment with the pipe, so depending on the pipe attachments, pipe supports are classified into primary pipe supports and secondary pipe supports. Now based on the piping insulation, they are classified as piping supports for hot insulation, piping supports for cold insulation, and piping supports for acoustic insulation. Now based on welding, supports are classified as welded pipe supports and clamped pipe supports. Now depending on the function, pipe supports are classified into various groups like resting supports, guide supports, axial stop or line stop supports, anchor supports. Now optimizing pipe supports. So these are actually guidelines so that piping supporting can be optimized. So we can follow these guidelines for optimization of piping support. So what are these guidelines? First is group pipelines so as to minimize the number of structures needed solely to pipe supports. Then route lines close to the possible point of supports, that is grade or structure which is provided for other purposes. Next, supports or braces to be located at or near neutral point. So what this will help, by providing supports at neutral point, the load that that support will be experiencing will be minimized. Supports to be located as near as possible to concentrated loads such as valves, flanges, heavy actuators, etc. By providing supports near to the concentrated loads, the sustained stresses or stress generated due to weight effects can easily be reduced to a great extent. So this is a very good guideline. Now piping susceptible to vibration such as compressor connected lines to be supported independently. The use of hold down or similar supports offering resistance to motion and providing some damping capacity to be used rather than hanging time supports, because these are vibration prone lines. So if the support is hanging type, then the vibration cannot be arrested and there will be chances of vibration. Now piping connected to the top of the vessel to be advantageously supported from the vessel to minimize relative movement between the support and piping. So to qualify the nozzle loads also, normally it is always required to support the pipe from the vessel itself. So both vessel as well as pipe will move simultaneously together. So the transfer of loads in the nozzles will be reduced. Next, always maintain the distance between supports as per the project specification recommended support span table. Usually for all projects, there will be a support span table. This is normally designed for straight run of the pipelines. But when there is a change in any horizontal plane, it is suggested to reduce the normal support span by 3-4 times or by 0.65 times of the standard support span depending on the configuration. Now sufficient space to be provided to facilitate support assembly, installation, inspection and maintenance. Now we will learn about various terminologies used in piping supports. First is brace or bracing support. Brace or bracing support is a device that is primarily intended to resist displacement of pipe due to forces other than thermal expansion and gravity. Now what is an anchor support or fixed support? A rigid restraint providing substantially full fixation is termed as an anchor. Anchor supports restricts all 6 degrees of freedom and it does not allow the pipe to move in any direction. Normally, full welded or bolted supports are called anchor supports. Anchor supports are rarely used in piping systems. Normally, these supports are not used. Next, stop or line stop or axial stop. A device that permits rotation but prevents translatory movements in piping is called a stop. A line stop or axial stop prevents pipe movement in the axial direction or longitudinal direction of the pipe. It is known as a stopper. Then what is a guide? A guide is a device or support element that prevents the rotation of one or more axes. Guide supports prevent the lateral pipe movements. Now what is a hold down support? Hold down support is a support or device that holds the pipe in position, disallowing vertical upward movement and or allows decided upward movement. Hold down supports prevent pipe disengagement from the support structure. Now hanger, a support which piping is suspended from a structure that functions by carrying the pipe load in tension. Usually there are three types of hangers. One is called rigid hanger, other is called variable hanger, and third is called constant hanger. Variable hanger and constant hangers are also called spring supports or spring hangers. Now rigid support, a support providing stiffness in at least one direction. Now resilient support, a support that includes one or more largely elastic members to carry pipe sustain plus thermal loads at the same time, allowing pipe thermal movements in the desired direction. So spring supports are basically resilient supports. Now rest support or sliding support. It is a device that is provided below piping to take the gravity loads, offering no resistance other than frictional to horizontal motion. Rest supports do not allow the pipe to sag or move in downward direction. What is adjustable support? An adjustable support can be adjusted at the site during plant operation. So once the pipe is installed during its operating condition, the support can be adjusted depending on the requirements. These supports are normally provided for pipe and equipment alignment purposes. Usually the first support from the pump suction and discharge nozzles are provided with adjustable supports. Now dummy legs, basically it's an extension of pipe welded to an elbow to provide support either as resting, guide or anchor. Now these are the examples of pipe support. This is an adjustable trunnion, means using this uh, screw bolt arrangement one can adjust during operating condition of the pipe. This is a line stopper or axial stop, means this is the pipe, two members are welded with the pipe, and this is the structure, civil structure. So once the pipe tries to move in longitudinal direction, if it moves towards right direction, then this left member will resist that movement, and if it moves in left direction, that the right member will restrict the pipe movement in this direction. And we can allow a certain amount by providing a gap in between the structure and the supporting element. So these are called line stop or axial stops. Now this is an example of guide, means it will restrict the pipe in movement in lateral direction. So over the pipe, uh, it will not allow to move, move the pipe beyond the allowable gap in the lateral direction. Then rest supports. So pipe is resting over this uh, T-post, we can say. So this is a rest support. Here also rest plus guide. This is a member. This is welded to the structure so that pipe does not move in lateral direction. Now this is a trunnion. A pipe is welded to the elbow or in the middle of a pipe, and this trunnion is supported in this structure, and this is a primary support because this is directly welded to the pipe. So the supports which are directly welded to the parent pipe are called primary supports, and these are the supports which are not directly welded to the uh, piping system. These are called secondary supports. In most of the cases, primary supports are designed by the piping support engineers, and secondary supports are designed by the civil structural members. Now this is a clamped shoe support. These are the clamps over which a half H member is welded on with these clamps, and one guide is also provided, guide and hold down. You can see that this shoe member is restricted from moving upward, so it is holding down. So this is acting as a hold down, as well as it will not allow the pipe to move in lateral direction, in this direction. So it is guiding also. So this support is a rest plus guide plus hold down. Now this is a example of rigid hanger. So the pipe will be clamped with this clamp, and it will be hanged from a overhead structure. Now this is an example of trunnion support from elbow in horizontal direction, which is guided. So all these are called guide supports on trunnion. The guide members are also considered as primary supports, even though these are not normally welded with the piping element. Uh, Only the secondary structures at bottom of these are secondary supports. Now this is a variable spring hanger, two types, overhang type and from bottom type. For bottom type, here there is a clamped shoe which is resting on the load flange of this variable spring hanger, and for this case the pipe will be clamped and hanged from the overhead structure. This is a constant spring hanger, special type of spring hanger, where there will not be any load variation. For variable spring hanger, load will be varying depending on the pipe movement. This is an example of snubber. This is normally used for resisting vibrations. This is a dynamic support. Uh, these are the typical drawings for rest support, guide support, and anchor support. Here you can see that the shoe or member is bolted directly to the secondary structure. So the pipe at this location will not be able to either translate or rotate. So all 6 degrees of freedom are resisted at this location. Now pipe support standard. Usually every organizations prepare their own pipe support standard to avoid rework for each and every projects, because pipe support design takes a lot of time, and if that is standardized, then a large saving of that rework will be getting. Support Pipe support standards usually provide the support drawings, naming philosophy, members which are required, then load capabilities, etc. So piping engineer or designers or support engineers can easily select supports from this document. Now this is an example of a typical pipe standard pipe support. Means here uh, it is a example of line stop, because pipe will not be able to move in axial direction. So this type of drawings along with members, if any wear pad is required, welding philosophy, all these things will be mentioned here. Even allowable loads also, means for example that 2-inch to 12-inch, for this using this standard support, load must be within 25 kg in axial direction, or for higher size 14 to 24-inch has to be within 40 kg in axial direction. And if any note are required, this is the support tagging philosophy. So all these details will be mentioned in the support drawings, which will be uh, documented all supports in pipe support standard. Now special pipe supports. The pipe supports that do not fall in the above category are called special pipe supports. Uh, Means any support that is not available in your pipe support standard drawing is called special pipe support, because those need to be specially designed and drawing need to be prepared. Various kinds of special pipes are required for critical lines. The design is normally slightly complicated and a separate drawing is prepared for each special pipe support. For example, spring hanger along with guide, hanger along with guide and line stop, normal pipe support requiring additional strengthening due to increased loads, etc. The drawing is normally prepared by the pipe support engineer and checked by a civil engineer to ascertain that these structural members are able to carry the required load, that is obtained from the piping stress engineer after stress analysis. This is a typical example that along with a bottom type spring hanger, the pipe is guided. So guide along with a spring, in this case it is called a special pipe support. That's all for today. Hope you like this video, and if you find this video useful, kindly subscribe to this channel so that you can get the future videos immediately when published. Thank you all for your time, and don't forget to click on the bell icon. Thank you.